Welcome back, Rocket fans. It's been a minute, as the kids say, and we're back though. Rocket Refuel. We're getting excited for the upcoming football season. This is the time of year we all get excited for. Preseason's coming up, and training camp for NFL, and you're starting to see some college practices. So, we thought we'd kind of kick off the season and talk about UT's schedule coming up, and maybe a few other tidbits with the upcoming roster. With that being said, I'm with you tonight with Dan Rocketman Savage
Howdy, howdy.
and Nate Texas Rocket Kresge.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
All right, well, we're just going to turn this over to Dan, and we're going to get rolling with the schedule.
So last year the schedule was pretty perfect. We played 4 games in September. I think our fans got a little tired out from having to take off work so many times in a row. And then we left for like a month and it didn't get to come back home until it snowed on us for Halloween. So this year's schedule is a little bit different, a little bit more, I would say, evenly paced, probably. But there's some quirks, there's some fun things. We start off on a Thursday against our annual FCS opponent, Duquesne. Um, Biggest party in Toledo. It's going to be fun. Duquesne was a playoff team last year, so they're not terrible. But if you take the average from our games against the FCS teams in the past, we usually don't struggle too much. So Duquesne should be a fun game, but Toledo generally tries to get a Power Five, one or two G5s, and then their FCS game to kind of ease them into the schedule. So I like the Thursday to start the season. You don't have to wait. Watch other teams play that Thursday and Friday. Get after it early, and hopefully take down the Dukes early game one this year. Before the next week, where we have a 3:30 game against a team that you guys are all familiar with, the UMass Minutemen. The year before they come into the MAC, we are on our last game of a home and home and home and home against UMass. It feels like a team that, I mean, geez, we've played them probably 3 or 4 times in the Glass Bowl since the last time Toledo played Miami in the Glass Bowl
Right.
in 2011. So it's crazy. But we get UMass, obviously, last year. They gave us a hell of a time up there at Amherst. So it'll be good to have them. I kind of wish this game was a later game. Like, to me, growing up, 7 o'clock games are like perfect for Toledo. Night at the Glass Bowl is like the best thing in the world. But before, the week before you go on the road to play an SEC team, I bet you Candle wanted to get this one out of the way and get ready for the next week, because we know we got a long week of travel coming up. And that leads into our next game, September 14th, 7:30 night game in Stark Vegas, in Starkville, where we're going to hear them Cowboys or Cowbells. Texas Nate, you ever been to Starkville?
Oh, I have. I was had the privilege of a early September game. It was about 100 degrees, and it was top of the stadium, and we were miserable. But they actually lost that game to Southern Alabama at home. So kind of just
Wow.
shows that smaller school can definitely go in there and win. So um, definitely don't count us out for that one.
Yeah, I mean, losing to the Jaguars, I guess that gives me a little bit of hope. This is like that game. Like, I was always like, why do we always have to play Notre Dame, Ohio State, these like regional teams that know who we are? And then Maryland traded our game. They got rid of our game, which was originally scheduled for this year, for Mississippi State, and they're giving us 1.5 million, and then Maryland paid us to get out. So this is like a big money game for us. But now that it's at night and looking at Mississippi State's schedule, like, they're going to be ready for us. This is going to be a big one.
I don't know. I think it's going to be kind of like, I hope we have a different outcome, but I think it really could be like the Illinois game last year. I think we can definitely compete with these guys. I think they went 5-7 last year. Um, you know, I think they're a beatable team. I think if Toledo's in the right mindset, and they could be coming off a loss going out west against Arizona State, they could, you know, come off a loss that game and then be 1-1 looking at us, and they could either come out and kick our ass, or I think we can come out and surprise them. I really do.
Yeah, I think Mississippi State's offense is going to be pretty good. I would expect this game to be probably both teams in the 30s because I know that their secondary over there was looked horrible in spring for them. They were like looking at the transfer portal, like any corners that started anywhere could probably go to Mississippi State and start. So that's good. And I think it'll be competitive. And it's funny because they also play UMass this year. They play them, that SEC week later in the year where they all take a week off. Um, yeah, I mean, UMass goes to Georgia too. They might as well just be in the SEC at this point. Um, so that's a good wake up call. We might not show anything in tape if we can handle UMass and Duquesne first, and then after that, another night game the following Saturday against Western Kentucky. And I mean, Conference USA, they ran that league for years, and now Liberty's been the number one team, but that Western Kentucky offense is always going to be tough to stop. There's a definite possibility that we're 2-2 coming out of the non-con.
So this is the game that scares me. I mean, especially if we do beat Mississippi State, that's
Yeah,
not going to be a team to slump against because you're right, that offense is dynamic and
I
they
mean,
can put up
you do
points.
see that a lot with teams coming off a huge win. Like let's say they beat Mississippi State, you kind of fall flat.
Yep,
You're
and
like,
that's not a game you can fall flat against because that offense,
right.
again, it's
You
they've
can score
always.
in a hurry.
Yep.
and Western Kentucky's schedule is really interesting. They start off the year at Alabama in week 1. And then I forget who they play second, but they have their rivalry with Middle Tennessee the week before us down in Murfreesboro. So we're kind of like, they're not going to be able to look ahead to us because they have like 100 miles of hate. That's their biggest game. But we'll also have maybe seen their best stuff on tape. And there's probably an avenue where if we get down 21-0 to Mississippi State, we kind of pack up all the tricks and bring them to Western Kentucky the next week. So I will be in Bowling Green for that game. The FBG chant will still work. It'll be perfect. And that's going to be the non-con game that I'm most excited for, even though, Starkville will be cool.
Have you been there, Dan?
The BG or Starkville?
No, sorry, to Bowling Green, Kentucky.
I have not. I've driven by it, but you can see it right off the highway.
Yeah,
I know it's a small stadium, but
very small, and I so I was there during the COVID year, and they were one
shit.
team that allowed fans. There wasn't a lot of fans, but I don't know if it's scared. So it's nice, it's just small, very small.
Yeah, I've been listening to Stadium Heads podcasts, and Conference USA is the last conference they haven't gone over. They just did the MAC, and it's pretty cool to see that dude that's gone to every stadium, which I know that you're trying to get to all of them.
Yeah.
But next week, I guess we'll see what they have to say about on the hill, as they call it over there.
Yeah.
So maybe 4-0, maybe 3-1, maybe 2-2 after the non-con, and then Toledo gets a well-needed bye. Definitely before MAC play, that's a perfect place for it. Kind of get healthy. Hopefully our quarterback, everything is set in stone. And then we play the MAC champs from 2023. First time since 2011, the Red Hawks are coming to town, homecoming. It's going to be a huge crowd. It's going to be a blast. I cannot wait for this game. We'll see if Miami's as good as people say. That they open up with Notre Dame, Northwestern, and Cincinnati at home before they play us. So they'll be battle tested. Hopefully maybe just a little bit banged up.
I was going to say maybe a little depleted.
Yeah. In this schedule, there's no East and West anymore in the MAC. So it's going to be a lot different. They're in a pod with Ohio and Ball State, and ours is Bowling Green and Northern. So on most years, I would say their pod's probably better, but it just kind of depends on how the schedule falls for them, when and where they get to play the Battle of Bricks, and then Ball State, their other rivalry.
Do you think that's going to benefit? You think it's going to benefit Toledo this year, or do you think that'll maybe hurt us a little bit with no sides?
Well, it's a quirky schedule because we miss Ball State who always gives us a hard time. And then we miss Western Michigan, who is building, and they were getting a lot better as the season went on last year. So I think it'll help us. There's one pod that is going to be pretty bad, the Akron, Kent, Buffalo. So, and it doesn't really matter too. You could play a team from your pod in the championship game. It's not like you have to win to get out or something. It's just who your protected rivals are. So, I don't know. I think it helps too, and especially a MAC championship where you could have Northern play Central Michigan or BG play Toledo or something in Detroit versus always sticking a team from the East in that doesn't travel well. I think in the long run, it'll definitely be better. So after October 5th, we don't have a game time for that for Miami yet. Usually homecoming's 3:30. Got to get the parade in and all that. Then we go to Buffalo, which Toledo has not played well there in the past, but I don't think Buffalo is going to be very good this year. They got a new head coach, Pete Lembo, who was at Ball State for about a decade ago. He knows how to beat Toledo, but he's just got to replenish a really depleted roster. Buffalo doesn't really scare me. I think that's probably like the ugliest game on the schedule. Middle of October, perfect time to go pick apples and pumpkins or whatever, you know. Then after that, our non-rivals game out at Northern Illinois on October 19th, and I believe this is their homecoming game. So I know Northern's been sick of playing our asses on weeknights with no fans. They always say that their fan base lives in Chicago and no one can come to midweek games. Well, they'll have 12,000 or whatever their biggest crowd of the year will be there for us for their homecoming. So that should be a pretty good game. No more Rocky Lombardi, though. After his 12th year, he's finally gone. And then after that, the game Rocket Ryan, everyone's been waiting for. Bowling Green at home on a weekend. There's not much else to say, man. Should be another sellout at the Glass Bowl.
They finally listened to Rocket Ryan after 36 strongly written letters to the commissioner.
Exactly. Yeah. And BG should be really good. This is the game of the year in the conference, probably. Hopefully we just sell enough tickets early that Bowling Green can't buy out the whole upper deck. But with the season tickets this year, we are no longer giving the away team those 3 sections on the lower bowl. We brought down our fan plan tickets to the bottom on the east side there, and we're going to stick BG up in the corners. So
good.
Should be a lot louder and look nicer on TV for us.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks to the I don't know if the fan committee had anything to do with that, but salute to those in the fan committee. And after that hopeful win against Bowling Green, the Battle of I-75, we get one more Saturday game, and we go up to Ypsilanti to play the Eagles on November 2nd. We still don't have a game time for that. This is a fun little rivalry that ever since Chris Creighton's been there at Eastern, it's been pretty competitive. Last year, Toledo jumped on them pretty early, pretty quick. But Eastern likes their transfers. They say that they have a good roster. Their pod is Central and Western, so they get to keep their Michigan MAC trophy together when they schedule. But this is a game that we're not going to see every other year now. So good weekend to take advantage of the short trip up 23 and go see the Rockets beat the Eagles. Now after that, we're in the midweek, so then we get like a bye technically, and we kind of have like between 8 and 10 day layoffs. We play Central Michigan at home November 12th. Action game. Central should be pretty good. I think all the Michigan teams are improving. That's one. If you're going to choose a midweek game, maybe you choose the other one. Because the following week on a Wednesday, November 20th at 7, we play the Ohio Bobcats. It's always fun when Ohio comes to town. They have a shit ton of alums in the Toledo area, just like Miami. And I mean, their roster is basically gone. Like Rourke went to Indiana. Bangura, I think, is at Minnesota, their running back, who is really good. So Ohio might not be the team that they were the last few years, but that should be a pretty fun game. And hopefully 18,000 plus will come out to see us take on the Bobcats there before we end our season the Tuesday before Thanksgiving against Akron in Akron at Infocision Stadium in front of 12 fans.
It's pushing
12 Rocket fans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've already been there, so I'm just going to keep my weekend open. I know Packers Lions play on Thanksgiving this year, so I'll be more down with that.
I don't even want to look at ticket prices for that.
Oh, the Packers, I think, they play Thanksgiving night at home. So I don't know who the Lions play this year on Thanksgiving, but they're both playing regardless. Yeah, and that's the schedule. Do you guys have any predictions? Any quirks, like a record, like who's going to beat us? Like, what do you guys think?
I guess I can go first. I did kind of touch on this pre-show, but I have a bad feeling Toledo could slide with 3 losses early with Mississippi State, Western Kentucky, Miami of Ohio, and then do that late season push where they just go on a win streak. And I hope my Debbie Downer prediction isn't true, but unfortunately, I do see it going that way.
Well, hey, the team that won the midseason battle between Miami and Toledo last year did not win the MAC championship. So with the rematch looming, that's not always the worst thing in the world.
Right. Yeah.
Nate, what you got?
I'm gonna go 10-2. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna say they're beating Miss State. They're gonna go in there and they're gonna shock them, and
I hope you're right. I think
the 2 losses are gonna come between these 3 games. It's gonna be Western Kentucky, Miami, Ohio, and BG. As much as that pains me to say, uh, you know, I think those 3 are gonna be the games that I think we could slip up. Um, I think they're gonna come out and beat Miss State. I'm gonna call it now.
I like that. Man, I could see us going 4-0 non-con. I really could. The problem with that is this is the first year that there's a 12-team playoff. So the G5 is going to have a representative here. And then if you start off 4-0, you start thinking about things that don't really matter as far as like the goal, which is just to win the MAC. I think UMass actually scares me. I think their quarterback was hurt last year, and they still were whooping us at halftime before we put it on them. So UMass is kind of like a sneaky game, especially on like right before we go on the road to play Mississippi State. I think we'll get one of Mississippi State and Western Kentucky. If we lose Mississippi State, Western Kentucky's also has a schedule where they can't look to us. I think we'll beat one of them. And then I've got a good feeling against Miami. I know BG will be better, but like, I don't know, those 2 games, they're going to be out. Like, we're going to be locked in for both of those. But the game at Northern, like, Thomas Hammock's job might be sitting on that game, and their students, they hate Toledo so much. Like, that Northern game is scary, and then kind of just depending on where we sit and who we're overlooking, that first midweek home game against Central Michigan, which I think won't be the well-attended midweek game for us, I think that could be tricky too. Even if Central's like a 4-4 or 5-3 team in the conference, like Central's going to be up for us. So I think maybe there's a floor of about 7-5 and a ceiling of probably like 11-1. But yeah, I don't really know yet. Yeah. I mean, we have the highest
truth in that. I mean, unfortunately, we did have a few key players exit the program. We got a few transfers from Power 5 schools, and see if they can fit in and get some playing time right away. And I don't know, it's kind of up in the air right now.
I know it's way too early, but 11-1. Let's just say the 1 loss is the Miss State, and Miss State, let's just say, is like 9-3 at the end. Enough.
That's what we need.
Is that enough to get that 12?
Probably. I mean, just Liberty, their big game. I think they play App State this year, maybe. So like,
Your
but
schedule?
Liberty's gonna win 11 games, like at least.
Yeah.
So if we're head to head against Liberty, we just have to beat Western Kentucky by more than they do.
Now, Liberty does not have a conference. Is that still correct?
No, they're in Conference USA.
Oh, they're in Conference USA now. Okay.
So they will play Western Kentucky. That'll be a head to head comparison.
Okay.
I think they might also play like Buffalo too, but I don't know. 11-1 might. If Mississippi State's 9-3, that'll be viewed as a good loss, but they shouldn't be. They're just trying to get back to a bowl.
I think there's a little bit of eye on the prize, though. If you follow Brian Blair, he's been posting a few photos of the college football trophy and the CFP trophy, and I think they're kind of thinking, why not?
Why not? Why not us?
Yeah,
Yeah, we've got some questions. Like our O line is all new. We got a ton of transfers. I like the wide receiver room. I love the D line. I mean, Peters got hurt early last year, but he was leading the team in sacks when he got hurt. I think Alexander's a beast. Like our D line is going to be able to hold up against anybody. There's just a lot of, maybe some missing pieces as far as a fan who hasn't seen spring ball or which will be fall camp. I don't know. There's reasons to be optimistic. We have the highest win total in the conference in Vegas at 8.5. But you play Bowling Green, Miami, and Ohio at home. That's probably why you might have the Vegas edge there just by getting the presumable 3 toughest teams at home.
it's a good point.
Yeah, I'm not going to give my win total prediction yet. I need to go through it more as the season
We'll
gets
save
closer.
it for the full podcast episode and get the rest of the boys on it and see what they think. I'm sure Rocket Ryan will have a favorable prediction as always, but we'll see what they're thinking as well. So with that, I think we'll wrap up this refuel, and we apologize for having such a gap between our last episode, but we did take a little bit of a hiatus.
It's going to come. It's going to be
picking up. We're going to be rapid fired here. We're pretty much weekly upload through the football season, and we're ramping up just like you guys are. So with that, I'm Kyle W. Smith.
I'm Dan Rocket Man Savage.
I'm Nate, the Texas Rocket.
Thanks for listening, everybody. To you well.
Yo.
Yo.